Hey you guys, coming on here to update you about what's been going on here in the last week and a half or so. And I'm going to confess some things to you. I feel a little bit like a televangelist getting ready to confess that he had sex with the church secretary and stole all the money in the ministry. It's not quite that dramatic, but I hit a pretty good snag in week 14. And I fell off the ADF wagon for a few days. And I want to talk to you about that. A few weeks ago, I made a video called 8 Ways to Make Fasting Easier. And I talked about some of the strategies that I've used throughout the process, especially the early stages of the process, to kind of help myself along and motivate myself. And, some of the strategies that I've used for success. Well, I want to talk to you about a pitfall. And one of the things that I really wasn't looking out for, that just kind of a perfect storm of factors and different components sort of overwhelmed me. And I want to talk about that. And it mostly relates to stress. I had a period there in week 14 where my mom was in the hospital. And I was really, really worried and consumed with a subject that I'm studying. I'll just tell you, it's chemistry. And did not feel confident about it and had a huge test. And so I was staying up late studying for this thing, and even, like my mom was in the hospital and I was like unavailable in a sense because I was just so consumed with this chemistry test. And, that was just in the back of my mind. But like in the days leading up to this test, I was laying awake at night. I'd go to bed late. I'd stay up late studying and working on problems. And then I'd wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and think about all the things that I had to do. And I would just get up and start the day. So my sleep patterns were all out of whack. I'm normally very regimented and very routine. I think that works best for me. I'm one of those people. I'm pretty predictable. I like to be in bed by 9:30. I'm 41 years old, but I'm already a fuddy-duddy. I want to be in bed by 9:30 and wake up early. That's usually what I prefer to do. And but in that period there of 3 or 4 days, my sleep was all messed up. I was exhausted. I was frazzled. I felt like I had put my finger in a electric socket. I had that sort of just like that when you're really tired and you just have that numbness, and just a lot going on emotionally and feeling like I was swimming with sharks. Have you ever had that feeling just where you're just surrounded by by all these things and all these stressors? And I wasn't handling it well. And then on top of that, my daughter made my favorite dessert, my favorite sweet in the world. She made this huge batch of oatmeal-raisin cookies. They're my favorite. And so it was just like this perfect storm. And as I was exhausted and tired and stressed out and worried about this test, and just my head just so full of information, and those cookies smelled so good, boom. It was the perfect storm of factors, and I was off the ADF wagon. I ate. I wasn't supposed to eat. And after that, I just said, the hell with it. I'm going to eat. And so I spent about 4 days in week 14 eating. Now, I didn't eat. The first couple days, I ate 1 meal a day, basically. So once I started eating those cookies, I just ate. I went and ate a regular meal and finished out the day, and the next day fasted until the evening, almost late afternoon, 5 o'clock or so, and then just ate 1 meal again. But I'm pleased to say I'm back on the ADF wagon. This is my second fast day since that series of events, and I've learned something very important here, and that's what I want to share with you guys. I don't consider this a failure. I am not beating myself up. I don't have the whip, the flagellum out to bare my back and beat myself bloody because something happened that was unplanned and there was a stumbling. I'm not beating myself up for that. I do not have guilt. I learned that early on. I'm not going to, there's nothing productive that happens for a person when they beat themselves up or when there's guilt going on there. So screw guilt. But here's what I learned. Stress has to be managed. Fasting while you're stressed is very, very difficult to do. And so you have to have, if you're going through a stressful period, fasting is going to be difficult. I know some people who lose weight when they're really stressed out or they have a lot going on in their lives, and I've never been one of those people. I'm an emotional eater. So if I'm sad or if I'm bored or if I'm worried or fearful or just a lot going on, those are the times that I tend to crave junk food. Now, why? The explanation for it is that the stress hormone cortisol is released in higher amounts when we are stressed out, when our sleep's messed up, when we're deprived of sleep. That's why sleep is so important when you're fasting. It's important all the time, but especially when you're on a fasting regimen. Because it's a stress to your body. So there's more cortisol being released, which is the stress hormone that's released. And so all these things, it's elevating cortisol, elevating insulin. It becomes almost impossible to lose weight in that situation. And so something's got to be done about the stress. You have to have factors, you have to have techniques in place that you can rely on to help reduce that stress. If you can't reduce that stress, you may just need to eat. And that's what I learned. I listen to my body. That's another reason I'm not guilty. I am not stuck into one particular plan, and if I don't do it this way, then it's just, if I was doing that, I'd be dieting. That's what I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding that sort of rigidity, okay? So I listened to my body. I was hungry, I was stressed, and so I ate. And if I had tried to push through that thing without managing the stress, without managing the root cause, I wouldn't lose weight. I would just, things will not be corrected. You have to correct things as they come up. And so I've had to say, you know what? Take it easy. Keep things in perspective. It's not the end of the world if I fail chemistry. Even though I've never failed anything in school before, it's not the end of the world. In regards to my health, I noticed that whole period of time there, that 4 or 5 days, my exercise dropped off. I did not have the energy to exercise. I did not have which is a way that I've dealt with stress in the past. It just wasn't there. I was just so sapped, you guys. And, I was craving junk food. And so what I did is I gave myself permission to come off of ADF, recognizing that I was in an unusual situation. And there was other factors involved, but realizing that, hey, there's a lot going on in my life right now, and I'm stressed out. I am stressed out. I felt like patches of hair were going to be falling out of my head. And I allowed myself, I said, you know what, dude, you're human. Take care of the things that are stressing you out. Don't add to the stress by fasting. And so that was my approach there. I have taken some measures to reduce my workload, to reduce my school load, to get back to my exercise regimen, to get back to sleeping. Just takes a little of the pressure off, and look at things in a more realistic way, and not hold myself to one particular strategy. This issue of cortisol is so important, and stress management is so important when you're fasting, because how many people do you know, and maybe you're one of them, that says, I gained all this weight because my girlfriend dumped me? I actually know 2 people. There's one of them whose channel that I'm subscribed to named Reinventing Kenny, and he gained his weight initially when his girlfriend dumped him. The love of his life dumped him, and he started eating. It's stress, man. It's stress. It's not just the eating, it's what's the cause. What's the cause behind the behavior? And So, you know, you need to be aware of these things, learn to manage stress, learn to breathe, learn to get your sleep in, eat well, eat things that are good for you, and if it's necessary, you know, have whatever your body is telling you that you want. But you have to deal with the root, with that stress root, before you can fast effectively. And so that's all I wanted to say, really. It's just, I don't consider it a failure. And like I say, I'm back on the wagon. But I took a few days off. And here's something else I've learned. When you go back to fasting after taking a few days off, maybe even a week, or maybe 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. I've read this from several sources, people who've done it, who say, you know, that when you go back to it, you actually lose at a faster rate. This is one way that you can actually break a plateau. Not that I've ever hit a plateau, but you can break a fasting plateau by going back, eat your maintenance calories. Go back to eating for a short period of time, 2 or 3 weeks, and when you return to fasting, your body's metabolism has gone, oh, okay, we're back to putting the weight on, and it can actually help you break through that plateau to lose weight faster by taking a break from your fasting regimen. So I've learned a lot, and that's what this is. This is, you know, people always say, well, my journey, and I don't know, it's kind of, so it's cliche. I don't want to talk about my weight loss journey, but I am learning, you know, so there is growth here. Not growth around the middle, thank you God. I haven't gained weight, and I'm back on my alternate day fasting. So I'm doing about a 40-hour fast and then an 8-hour eating window, and I'm enjoying it again. And I've taken steps to reduce my stress. I'm back to sleeping and feeling like I'm available for my family, and so it's good. So for the sake of being honest with you guys, I just wanted to share that. I've learned from it, and so if you have that stress going on in your life, deal with that, and then fast. Then worry about your weight loss, because when you're stressed out, you're going to have a very, very hard time losing weight and sticking to any sort of either eating plan or not eating plan. All right. Excuse me. I've got a little bit of congestion. My wife's got a cold. I still haven't caught it, but this might be the start. We'll see. So, thanks for watching, you guys. Eat if you need to. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we do fast. Have a good one.